Please welcome contributing author to Young Zionist Voices and legal advocate for the National Jewish Advocacy Center, Adela Cojab.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adela Cojab, and it's truly an honor to be with you today. My family is originally from Syria and Lebanon, and as Jews do, they had to leave. And they went to Mexico, of all places. That's where I was born. And I know that we're out west. I don't know how much you know about Syrian Jews. But like all Syrian Jews, we made our way to Deal, New Jersey. I grew up in Deal, New Jersey, in a beautiful, small, tight-knit Jewish community where Israel, Zionism, and Jewish identity were always part of who I was. It's not something I ever questioned. It's not something that was ever challenged. And I always heard about antisemitism on college campuses, but I never thought it would be something that I would face. I wanted to go to NYU since I was in 4th grade, my dream school. I applied early decision. I had no backups. My advisor said, well, what happens if you don't get in? And I said, well, if I don't get in, I'll just go to Israel for the year, either serve or volunteer, and then I'll come back and apply again. Lo and behold, I do get into NYU and I get to my dream school and I say, Judaism is great. It's going to be always part of who I am, going to go home for Shabbat. But I don't want to be known as the Jewish girl on campus. So yes, I became president of the Pro-Israel Club, but I also had a radio show on WNYU Radio. I joined a sorority, and of course, I joined student government. And for my first 2 years on campus, I have to be honest, they were wonderful. I had a phenomenal time, especially on student government, fighting for student rights, fighting for food insecurity, making sure that students have access to transportation, etc. But my junior year, everything changed. Suddenly, everything became about Israel-Palestine on campus. And it all started with the mention of Zionism by the Minority Student Council in the same category as racism and Nazism, of all things. And when I saw the email come out, I reached out to my friends who I'd been working with for 2 years. They said, hey, I saw the statement you put out about Zionism. Can we meet to talk about it? And they responded, no, because we don't speak to fascists. And that was the first time that my Zionism kept me from a space I was previously welcomed in. And together with the Jewish community, we wrote a statement, all the Jewish clubs except for 2, I'll let you guess which 2, not angry, but disappointed that our fellow students couldn't understand why putting Zionism in the same category as Nazism of all things is so hurtful to our community. And the night before I was going to publish, I got a call from a mentor of mine, someone who had been working in the Jewish institutional world long before I braced the halls of NYU. And he said, I heard you're putting out a statement. I said, yes, we are. And he said, are you sure you want to do that? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, who even reads student government emails? I'm sure you're the only one, which I was. If you write a statement coming out against this, you're going to start a campus war. If you ignore it, I promise you it'll go away. But if you write a statement in response, you're only going to make the problem bigger. And I thought about it, and I knew that my community came together to write the statement, and I made the decision that we wouldn't publish. Until this day is my biggest regret at NYU, because we didn't publish the statement. But over the next 3 months, NYU would become the most anti-Semitic campus in the United States. Because no, we didn't publish. But 2 weeks later, we had a resolution on NYU student government against NYU's Tel Aviv campus. 2 weeks after that, we had a resolution by 70 professors at NYU boycotting all Israeli academics. And 2 weeks after that, we had a boycott pledge by 53 student groups. That's 1 in every 6 at NYU. Pledging not only to boycott Israel, the country, but Realize Israel, the student group I was president of. So at this point, if you were a Jewish student, your student government was against you, anyone who worked with you would be against you, you'd show up to your class knowing your professor was against you. And I met with the school every step of the way. Time after time, the school told me I was overreacting. I was imagining non-existent threats. I said, maybe they're right. But we were about to have a Yom HaAtzmaut celebration. We rent out Washington Square, we fill it with students, 300, 400 Jewish students in the park wrapped in Israeli flags singing Hatikva. And when you look out, you say, this is Judaism in the 21st century. But that year, I knew would be different. And I reached out to the school and I said, I'm worried for student safety. They told me again I was overreacting. And the way that the event kicked off was with an anti-Israel student coming to the forefront of the circle, Israeli flag in hand, lighting it on the fire, throwing it on the ground, and letting it burn. Other students came with canisters of gasoline to make the flames bigger. And then came that moment where we sing Hatikva, that beautiful moment. I told everyone, let's get back to Yom Ha'atzmaut. Let's try to remember why we're here. And as we started singing, another anti-Israel student came to the center of the protest line, started shoving the microphone from a Jewish girl yelling, free, free Palestine. We look up, we realized they had taken our Israeli flags, torn them to shreds, hung them from trees and lampposts. NYPD stepped in and made 2 arrests. At this point, I went back to the school. I said, you can't tell me I'm imagining non-existent threats. There's been violent physical action taken against my community. What are you going to do about it? And the school promised me action, and the school did nothing. No, not only did they do nothing. At this point, my professors, I was a Middle Eastern Studies major, told me to stop coming to class because my Zionism was a distraction that made other students unsafe. They had to take my final exams in a separate room. One student who partnered with me started being boycotted too. She asked to take her final exams with me instead of the rest of the class. I decided my senior year to take classes in creative writing and dance just to get enough credits to graduate, which if you know me, you know is not something I'd ever do. Now at this point, I step away from student government, leave my positions in leadership, and I felt so afraid. I met with the school and I said, I'm begging you to do the right thing. And the school said, you're right, a line has been crossed. I said, NYPD stepped in? They said, yes, NYPD stepped in. We're going to take action, but it'll be behind the scenes. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we don't want the narrative to be that NYU is choosing one community over the other. So don't worry, we'll take action quietly. And again, I was so downtrodden that I said, my community is scared, my community is angry, and I am making the decision to trust you. I left my positions, I receded into the background, and I tried to graduate. It wasn't until about a couple of months before my graduation that NYU revealed the President's Service Award, the highest honor you can receive as a group on campus. And that year's recipient was none other than Students for Justice in Palestine. And in that moment, I realized what NYU was telling me, which was that they didn't care about fighting anti-Semitism. They said, want to know how to become an award-winning group at NYU. You're going to pick a minority community. You're going to boycott all of their events, boycott their members, assault their members, get arrested by it, burn their flag, throw gasoline on it. And so long as that group is Jewish, you will win an award. Now, I tried to meet with the school about this. At this point, my friends had called me. I said, I'm done. This isn't my fight anymore. I gave 3 years of my life to this fight on campus. I'm about to graduate. They said, Adela, we're begging you, just try to get us a meeting. And the administration refused to meet with me until the week of my graduation. And I stepped out of the vice president's office after he refused my meeting time and time again. And I started thinking about the flag burning. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm from Mexico. You can say that flag burning is political. It is. Legal. It is. But if a group of students would have burned a Mexican flag at NYU and said, no, I'm not against Mexicans. It's my political stance against immigration. You're telling me NYU isn't even making a statement about it? Now, if you want to say I identify as a Zionist, I chose that. I decided to out myself, and that's why I was boycotted. If a group of students burned an LGBTQ flag, I doubt NYU would be giving an award to the group that burned it. And if you want to take all of politics out of this, all politics, all identity, I come from Greek life. If you couldn't tell, I was vice president of my sorority. And if you would have had 2 fraternities in Washington Square Park, one of them burned the flag of the other, assaulted their member, and got arrested by NYPD, are you telling me that fraternity can recruit in spring? That fraternity is surely not getting an award from the school. So why is it the only flag you can burn is mine? And not only is it not alarming, it's celebrated. So I walked out of that office and I got in touch with lawyers. And I asked if I had a case against the school. And the lawyers told me, no. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act protects discrimination against nationality, ethnicity, and race, not religion. So we're so sorry about everything you're going through, but unfortunately, you don't have a case. And I said, let me send you what I have and you'll let me know if I do. Sent them my papers, screenshots, emails, don't date me, it's a horrible time. And they told me within the day that not only did I have the case, I had the strongest case they'd seen. And they made it very clear, you're not going to win, but your case could become the foot in the door. It could become the cornerstone in Jewish law that helps us understand Judaism as an ethno-religion, not as a faith-based religion. So I decided to call my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm suing NYU for anti-Semitism. Now, I'll walk you through what happened after. Again, remember, when I sued, the law was not on my side. It was purely publicity, so I spoke everywhere I could. I spoke to every platform. I spoke on Fox. I spoke to the New York Times. Anyone who would have me on, I spoke, until I got a call from the White House. Turns out that the president, at the time, heard about my case, at the time, and it would be his honor if I speak with him at a conference in Miami. I decided to take the platform. 3 days later, he signed the executive order against anti-Semitism, which officially codified Judaism as an ethno-religion, thereby falling under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. In that moment, I understood that everything was worth it. Why? Because when I sued NYU, I did it so no NYU student would go through what I went through. I had no idea that my case would have a national impact. Now, October 7th changed our reality. On October 7th, I was in Dubai. I was getting updates in real time from my friends on the ground telling me it's not just rockets. It's not just rockets. I was in Dubai hiding my Magen David as I heard that Israeli tourists were being killed in Egypt simply for speaking Hebrew. And when I came back to the States, I saw people celebrating. Not only were people celebrating on college campuses, but in the streets of New York. And I said, what has changed? But I realized everything has. Because when I came back, I didn't see students who were afraid the way I was, who were retreating, who said, if I draw attention to this, I will make the problem bigger. No, I saw students like Talia, who you heard from today, like Maya, like Alyssa, like Avi, like Charlie. I saw people like Elon Levy, like Amy Albertson, who were putting themselves, stepping up to the plate because they were not afraid. When I saw people standing up, I said, we're not the Jews of the past. And that got me thinking about my biggest regret. When I saw the mention of Zionism and Nazism in the same category, when the Jewish community came together to write a statement, and I was told by a mentor that if I draw attention to it, I will make the problem bigger, and if I ignore it, it'll go away. I realized that that is the mentality of the Jews of the past. Now, the Jews of the past, oh, thank you. The Jews of the past, it doesn't matter where you came from. If you came from the Middle East, like my family, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Russia. At some point, being Jewish made you different, and being different made you a target. And when it became dangerous to be Jewish, we would hide that Judaism in order to protect ourselves. It's intergenerational trauma where we understand that we are guests in a host country, and we cannot run. We can only hide. But we are not the Jews of the past. What changed from the Jew of the past to the Jew of today? The state of Israel. Not as a contingency plan, not as somewhere that we run when it gets dangerous, but as an anchor of our Jewish identity, as a testament of Jewish strengths. We not only solidified ourselves as a Jewish people in our homeland, but that homeland solidified the Jewish people in the world. I can only exist as a proud Jew in the diaspora because of the existence of the state of Israel, because I understand that my identity as a diaspora Jew and the existence of the state of Israel are inherently intertwined, hand in hand, Israeli Jews and diaspora Jews. Now, I want to take you back to what we're doing here today over this Z3 conference. Our future starts now. But much like hope is created, the future is built. And we, the Jews of today, the Jews who awoke, have the opportunity to build the Jews of tomorrow. Every decision that we make today and this point forward as a Jewish people gets us one step closer to the true meaning of Zionism, because Zionism didn't end with the creation of the state of Israel. What is Zionism? You can say it with me because we've been told this 1,000 times. It's the Jewish right to self-determination. That does not only mean within our homeland, but every time that the Jewish people as a people make a decision is us practicing our self-determination and solidifying ourselves in this planet. The next panels you will hear will get you to think, to reimagine what the Jewish future can look like. I want you to ask yourselves, how much is a generation of proud Jews look to you? And what can we do to build that future? Let's build that future together. Thank you.